In this video, I'm going to show you the 4-step framework that I use to get out of ADHD paralysis and into actually taking action. So just for some context, I was diagnosed with ADHD as an adult, and for most of my life, I've struggled with now what I know as ADHD paralysis. This has meant that I had lots of ideas, lots of good intent and hopes for what I wanted to do, but when it came to execution, not so much. So now I create 1 to 2 videos per week. I create tools for my coaching clients. I get more of the stuff that I want to do done. And it's down to these 4 steps. So there's 3 main types of ADHD paralysis. There's task paralysis, which is the inability to start or complete a task. Someone experiencing this may delay their tasks by zoning out or repeating something that's already been completed, or can spend hours just on a simple job due to this feeling of powerlessness. Then there's choice paralysis, which is also sometimes known as analysis paralysis. And this is where we overthink or just don't make any decision. And it's super common when we feel like we have too many options to choose from. That's the paralysis of choice. And then there's mental paralysis. So ADHD mental paralysis is when the brain kind of shuts down or becomes foggy and can't really tolerate any further stimulation. So any of these 3 can leave us struggling to actually take action on anything, on any sort of tasks, jobs, or things that we want to do. And it can feel really, really overwhelming and debilitating because we feel pulled in every single direction and it freezes us to the spot, hence the name ADHD paralysis. But all of them ultimately boil down to one main thing. We feel like there's too much going on for our brain to process. And it's really important to recognize the fundamental of this. Every brain has something called working memory. And working memory holds and processes information that is needed in that moment in time. It basically works like computer RAM. Just like computer RAM, if you leave too many tabs open or programs running or tasks happening in the background, it's going to slow down. It will still do the tasks, but it will run them very, very inefficiently. And eventually, depending on the size of the RAM, the computer is going to run at a snail's pace. So with ADHD, we actually have a slightly reduced capacity of working memory. We have slightly smaller RAM than neurotypical people. And it's generally understood that neurotypical people have 4 slots of working memory. So when it comes to performing a task, neurotypical people will have the information that they need in the regular slots and perform the task, and any extra slots will still continue to hold on to the other stuff that they need that isn't necessarily being used at this moment. Whereas people with ADHD only have usually 2 slots of working memory, which means that when it comes to performing a task, all the information that flows through will get filled up quicker. The slots will get filled up quicker in their working memory, which means that trying to do a task will be slightly less efficient because it's trying to prioritize the information as best it can within a limited amount of slots. So as you can see, the information from the 2 slots is getting there a little bit slower. So I hope this diagram makes sense to you a little bit. Basically, what it all means is that if we have information constantly entering our working memory, our cup is going to fill up pretty quickly. So these are the 4 steps that I use to get myself out of ADHD paralysis. And this is also a technique that I work with my ultra-normal members as well. So step 1 is to externalize. Step 2 is to microcommit. Step 3 is to give a choice. And step 4 is a nice to have. And I'll go through these one by one. So if you're experiencing ADHD paralysis and you're feeling frozen when it comes to performing your tasks, then you can use these 4 steps to help guide you through getting stuff done. So step 1, externalize. So for ADHD, writing down your thoughts helps to clear up your working memory. Remember, we don't have much RAM. So remember, we don't have quite as much RAM. So if we're trying to hold on to multiple thoughts, ideas, or feelings, it's really important to get them out onto paper. Think of it as putting them onto a hard drive. So getting them out of the RAM and just saving them onto the hard drive for later on. So clearing your working memory helps to flush it of all of the external thoughts and helps you to prioritize what is actually important right now and what is something that is important for later on. So if you're struggling to do a task, write down 3 questions. 1, what is the smallest first step? This needs to be an absolute no-brainer, just the very first smallest step. So for example, if you are struggling with writing a paper for college, then the first step would be pick up a pen and paper and write down the first word. That is something that you definitely can do. It's the smallest first step, and it's the easiest place from paralysis to actually doing the task. So just write that down. You don't even need to do it. Then the next question is to answer, what are the bare minimum steps to consider this complete? So this is simply, what is the bare minimum you would need to do for this to be considered complete? It may not be good, it may not be what you want it to be, but it would be technically complete. And just write down those steps. And then the third question to answer is, what steps would be nice to have? So which parts of this, on top of the bare minimum, would be nice to have? You would like this term paper to be good. You would like this to have these diagrams, but it's not essential. And just take a few minutes to write down these answers. Breaking things down and externalizing it helps get it from our working memory, tied up in our thoughts, onto paper where we can see it and tangibly say, okay, here's what I need to do. Here's what I'm struggling with. When we keep things in our head as an ADHDer, we struggle to really see all of the pieces. The pieces can get jumbled up in our mind. The way that I see it is, when as a kid, when you're looking at your closet at nighttime and you can't see behind the closet door and you're thinking to yourself, is there a monster there? Is there not a monster there? It feels worse in your mind. And then when you turn the light on, you see to yourself that you are actually just looking at your bathrobe in the closet. And from that moment, it becomes a lot less scary. So externalizing things makes things more tangible. It puts things directly in front of your eyes where you can see, okay, this is what I need to do. So step 2 is to microcommit. So this next step is just committing to the smallest step, the step that you've already established as the easiest, no-brainer step. Commit to doing that, something that you definitely have no reason to not do. And remember, this step needs to be the absolute smallest step. This is closing the gap between your intent and your action in the smallest possible way. And this is to be done immediately. Make the first step urgent and small, something that can be done in 60 seconds. What is the shortest step between you and simply starting? So for example, if you wanted to clean the house, don't look at it as cleaning the entire house. The absolute smallest first step could be taking a piece of trash to the trash can, but doing it right now. So it's committing to that smallest step. And this is the only thing that you need to commit to be able to say, I did this one thing. Step 3 is giving a choice. Once you've done the very first smallest step, taking another look at the bare minimum that you wrote down and think to yourself, what is the bare minimum? What is the shortest point between where I am now, which is technically already started, and finishing? Because right now we have fewer options now. We've got all the stuff out of our head. We've already technically started. So we have fewer options and we're already in motion. So the bare minimum for cleaning the house, as an example, maybe it's vacuuming the floors and wiping the surfaces. You've already taken that one piece of trash to the trash can. What is the bare minimum just to consider this complete? And again, this is reducing our options down. We're already in the middle of taking action and we already have a step-by-step guide on how to technically complete this, which means that we have less decision fatigue, that choice analysis paralysis. And I'll actually be making a video on decision fatigue in the future, so make sure you are subscribed to be able to see that video. And then from here, give yourself the choice to either do the bare minimum or quit now, and make it a real choice. It doesn't have to be either one, but make a conscious decision. With the information you have in front of you, I've already started. Here are the bare minimum steps to consider this complete. What am I going to do? Am I going to continue and just get it over and done with, or am I going to leave it and do it another day? And there's no right answer here, but make it a real choice. Ask yourself out loud or write it down. Don't keep it inside your head, and then commit to that choice. What we're really looking to do is to start trying to give ourselves inertia, just to start us moving forward. And at this point, you may be thinking to yourself, does that mean that I just get the bare minimum done every single time? Kinda. But the important thing is simply getting things done. Again, this is about building up inertia. This is about slowly but surely moving forward and getting that momentum going. We're making micro commitments to ourselves. We're making mini promises along the way. We're seeing the mountain ahead of us and we're saying, okay, that is a tough mountain to climb. But we're trying to self-guide ourselves through the task, making lots of small conscious decisions along the way rather than one big decision. Don't look at the top of the mountain. Look down here at the foothills and the path towards it. And if you do want more tools to help manage your ADHD, then join us on the free Focus Bootcamp, where you'll learn the tools and strategies that myself and other Ultra Normal members use every single day. Click on the link in the description down below. And And then step 4 is the nice to have. If you've done the bare minimum and you've completed it, this is now taking a look at what you've externalized before and saying, okay, what are the nice to haves? Do I want to continue and add on those extra things, the cherry on top? Can you add in extra stuff to put your own little mark on it? So then give yourself the option to do some of the nice to have things on there. Again, this is a conscious decision. You don't have to commit to it, but you have a few steps in front of you. Maybe you can do one of them, maybe you can do all of them. It's totally down to you. And these 4 steps mean that you guide yourself through the process bit by bit, emptying your brain out, doing one tiny, tiny step, making a conscious choice to do more or not do more, and then possibly adding on any extra if you end up getting into the flow. And if you do any one of these steps, celebrate it. Any one of these steps is a win. Don't think of wins as something that is 100% complete. If you simply answer those first 3 questions, great. What you've done is you've taken a mountain ahead of you and you've broken it down into smaller steps. And then if you do have the energy, at some point you already have a little step-by-step guide on how to do this daunting task. So it's already less daunting than it was before you broke it down. So this is something to celebrate. Any one of these steps is something to celebrate. As ADHDers, we can be really, really harsh on ourselves and we can beat ourselves up for failing or what we consider failing. But it actually should be the opposite way. It should be celebrating steps as we go. And even if to other people, to neurotypical people, it seems goofy or it seems ridiculous or we're patting ourselves on the back for doing the bare minimum, who cares? Because at the end of the day, if it's something that generates the motivation in us and pushes us into action, then this is what is effective to our brain. Get in a good habit of celebrating yourself and celebrating the things that you are doing, because neurologically, that actually is an effective way of generating more and more motivation for us. The more that we celebrate our wins, no matter how small, the more it pushes us further and further to do better and to do more. And the more likely we are to get into a better habit of taking action, even when it is daunting. So if there's one takeaway from this video that I want you to leave with, is that I want you to celebrate all of the wins, no matter how small or big. And if you want more on ADHD and motivation, then I'm going to leave you with a video right here. I'll see you over there.